All right, so we're going to think of multiplication as like finding the area of a rectangle that has a base of 5 and a height of 3. So in this case, of course, it's 15, or 3 times 2. We're going to think of a rectangle that has a base of 3 and a height of 2. So of course the answer is 6. And we're gonna use that same thinking for 3 1/3 times 2 1/2. So this is going to be our base, and this is going to be our height, and then we're going to find the area just like we were finding the area over here with whole numbers. So let's get it started. All right, so here's my thinking on how I visualize 3 1/3 times 2 1/2, and I'm gonna put these two fractions on a number line. All right, so here's 0. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and so I'm gonna think of, oops, not that, 3 1/3 right here. Right. So there's my 3 1/3, and then I'm gonna think of my 2 1/2, 1, and it doesn't matter. There's my, let's see, there's 1, there's 2, so there's my 2 1/2 right there. And so I'm going to think of each of these as cut in halves, and I'm going to think of each of these as cut in thirds. So I'm going to make that red. All right, so now I'm going to imagine this line going across and this line going up. And so there is this whole thing right here is a rectangle that has, let's see, where am I looking for? There we are. That has a base of 3 1/3 and a height of 2 1/2. All right, so let's fill in. So that's my 1, my 2, my 3. All right. And now my job is to find the area of this rectangle. So I'm going to kind of fill in all of these lines. So there's my 1, there's my 2, and then there's my 1, and there's my 2. Oops, I forgot my 3. There's my 3 right there. Good. Now what's really cool is right here, this is a 1 by 1 square. This is a 1 by 1 square. This is a 1. So all of these are 1 wholes. That is 1 whole. I know they didn't look like it because they're not, I didn't do a good job drawing everything, but each one of these is 1 whole unit. Now if I wanted to, I could continue drawing all of these lines, cut up all my thirds, and then I could cut in all my halves. There we go. And so now we can see that 1 whole is made up of 6 little units. Those are sixths because it takes 6 pieces to make 1 whole, so those are sixths. Now I can, I'll do black, I guess. So that's 1 whole. That's 1 whole. That's 1 whole. That's 1 whole. That's 1 whole, that's 1 whole. And we've already figured out by looking at each of these holes that it takes 6 little pieces to equal 1 whole. So that means right here, these 6 pieces right here is equal to 1 whole. And then any 6 pieces equals 1 whole. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these 6 pieces equals 1 whole. And I'm left with, and let's circle it in green. I'm left with these 2 little pieces left over. So I can count. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 holes. And I've got 8 holes. And then I've got these 2 little sixths left over. So my answer is 8 and 2 sixths. All right, now if we want to connect this to kind of like the standard algorithm, I'm going to change this a little bit. All right, and now what we could do is we can look at our base. So what is our base? It's 3 1/3, but if we think about thirds, it's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10/3. So this is really 10/3. So we can write that down. It's 10/3 right here. And what was our height? Well, our height was a bunch of halves. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 halves. And if we think about all of these little pieces, so we have 10/3 going this way, and we have 5 halves going this way. If we think about each of these are sixths, right? So if we wanted to count how many sixths do we have all together, well, we have 10 by 5. So we have 50 sixths. And oh my goodness, look at that. We're starting to see the algorithm happening here. Oh, you just multiply across and you get 50. You multiply across, you get 6. Why do we multiply across? In the denominator, 3 times 2, well, because that's going to tell us how many pieces it takes to make one whole. 3 times 2, right here. And then why do we multiply across for our numerator, 10 times 5? Well, because there's 10/3 going across, and there's 5 halves going up and down. So there's 50 little unit squares, these 50 little things, and it takes 6 little unit squares to make a whole. So 50 divided by 6 gives you your 8 2/6, which of course is 8 1/3. So now we've connected this conceptual picture with the actual official algorithm. All right, I hope this helps, and feel free to email me. Let's see, my email address is dhabecker@gmail.com. So if you have any other questions, feel free to email me. It might take me a while, so it's probably quicker to get me on Twitter. On Twitter, it's Habecker. And I'm happy to answer your questions.